this episode, we are going to discuss with midwifery leader who is nominated for 100 plus outstanding women nurse and midwife leaders. We have a very special nursing leader with us, Kaveri Mayra, and we will talk about her experience. Can you please introduce yourself and briefly tell us about your professional life?
I am a midwifery and nursing researcher. My background is obviously in nursing and midwifery and public health research. I'm currently the PhD student at the University of Southampton, where my PhD is focused on obstetric violence and respectful maternity care in India, and how nurses and midwives can play a role in addressing this issue. I have around 12 years of experience in research, implementation, advocacy, capacity building in India mainly, and in a few other countries. I have worked with a few really amazing organizations like Academy for Nursing Studies and Women Empowerment Research Studies. In short, we call it ANSWERS. It's based in India. I have worked with Public Health Foundation of India, Oxford Policy Management Limited, which I started working there in India, and now I'm in their Oxford office. I have consulted with WHO, White Ribbon Alliance at the country office and at the headquarters. And Japaigo, the few other organizations. There's a huge list. So I mainly do research and advocacy about nursing, midwifery, women's empowerment, maternal health, reproductive health, sexual health, and anything that comes in that gamut.
How do you feel after receiving a nomination into the list of top 100 midwives by Women in Global Health?
Well, the nomination, I got to know about the nomination a few months ago, really, and that was in itself a huge surprise because, I mean, we are in the year 2020 when we know what especially nurses and midwives have done at the front line. So at that time, when I heard that I have been nominated and they asked for my profile and more information, I wasn't very sure, if I want to be in like that group, because it just feels like there's millions who are there who should have been on the list. There are thousands who I know myself. Um, but I did went through it and shared my profile because I do realize that my profile is very different and my pathway is very unique. So I think I need that to reach out to people, and especially younger nurses and midwives who often don't take the research career forward because there's not much to look forward to and they don't get to see examples like that. So, but yeah, there were no expectations, but yeah, when the list of 100 came out, it was amazing because also the president of International Confederation of Midwives texted me in the morning, and she's on the list herself, and I had not seen the email before, so it was really amazing to see that and to hear it from her. It's a rare morning, but yeah, it hasn't really sunk in because there are a lot of people on it who have been, my heroes as well. There are people whose books I have read in my pre-service education, and people whose research I have followed and I have admired, and there are people that I have, embarrassingly asked for selfies and stuff in various occasions who are on it. So it just feels a little too much to be put beside them. But it's amazing. It's a recognition that happens rarely, and it's amazing. Really, I don't know what to say.
We have discovered some of your interests, including governance and research. Can you please tell us about your areas of interest?
Yeah, it's mainly actually nursing and midwifery governance, and that is something that I have been working on since I started my career over 12 years ago. And I mean, what happens we see in India is when it comes to different areas of governance, be it clinical side, the community side, teaching, regulation, everything, I feel there is a bit of lack of voice of nurses and midwives themselves to decide how these professions will be run, be governed. And it's kind of obvious from the positions that are there or not there in different state governments and at the central government. And there is a lot of, I would use the word interference of non nursing and non midwifery professionals, many of who are doctors. And it's not hidden that we have many, say, nursing councils in states where the highest position, that of president, is held by doctors. And I don't know why we do this, where we feel that we have to, because they are doctors, we have to put them at a pedestal and give away like a biggest position. And these are usually honorary. They don't play a crucial role in that will uplift the profession, that will help solve issues in the profession. So so that is, there has been many issues that I have always felt is there in how the professions are being run, how decisions are being made for them, how policies are being made for them. And that has an impact on absolutely everything, starting from how from the moment you get into this profession through the pre-service education till you retire, and even after. So it's just important to know that you need the people of the profession to govern the profession if you want the professions to improve, and have the kind of progress that we want. So it's been a long journey. I Because I'm a researcher, most of my work has been through research, and I do advocacy about it whenever I get a chance. But I wouldn't say there has been a lot of progress, because these issues are very very political, and the powers that you hit your head against are really big. So yeah, so that's why I think if we could change that, it will have a massive impact on how nursing and midwifery is kind of looked at, is kind of seen in the country, the stigma and the discrimination, how those things are there in our culture. And so that's I think I will stay in that area all my life. And rest you have heard. I mean, I do a lot of work on obstetric violence and maternal health and reproductive health related research.
You advocate strongly for midwifery, and some of your statements about integrating midwifery linked measures and investments in midwifery may change the landscape for midwifery in India. What are the changes that you envision?
It's simple. I just want midwifery to be there in India, like internationally recognized midwifery to be there in India, and it's not there right now. I call myself a midwife, but I'm not trained as per or educated as per international standards, the way midwives in many countries are. And if you look at the definition of midwifery that came out in Lancet, um, if you look at the competencies that the International Confederation of Midwives suggests for midwives to have, I'm not a midwife then. I don't think anybody in my country is then. Um, so we just, in research, through my interactions and collaborations with midwives internationally and even within country, just because we are not midwives, it's not like we don't know the benefits of it. And it's now well proven that midwifery can save lives, and childbirth and related phases of life do not have to be this medicalized. Our cesarean section rates do not have to be this high. Our interventions don't have to be this high. Not every woman needs to be given oxytocin, and not every woman needs to be cut when she is given birth. And some of these experiences are really harmful, and they are traumatic for women. And this is something that we don't talk about in India, because it just feels like it's a childbirth. I mean, you're going home with a live baby, you're supposed to be happy. So why ponder on things that that's happened, and everybody around you is happy, the family is happy, just be happy you have a live baby. but it can be so much better with midwives. It can be the natural way that it's supposed to be, and there is evidence around 85% of cases do not have to go to hospital and can be dealt with when an internationally uh, trained, a midwife trained to international standards is available at your side, and you don't have to be exposed to a hospital, those bright lights and operation theater and emergencies, and it's it's not the experience you need for a natural process. It's not disease. So it's I think it's very it's very basic and thing to ask, that when women give birth, they have a good experience, and I think midwifery has proven it has the capacity to do that. And now we are like inching very close to making that happen, even though we have something called the nurse practitioner in midwifery, and it's an 18-month course. And I worked with the International Confederation of Midwives, ICM, last year, to work on the curriculum of that. And I had also worked with WHO when the operational guidelines were being prepared. I played a major role in drafting it, and it's still, though I would say, not perfect, and it has a long way to go. There's many changes that needs to happen, and for starters, we need to stop calling them nurse practitioners, I think. So yeah, I mean, this the ball has been rolled in the right direction, but it's going to be massive amount of efforts that we are going to need from a lot of people to make that happen.
My another question. You are highly active on social media and share updates regularly about midwifery while reaching out to people in almost every corner of the world. What is the secret purpose or reason behind this energy?
uh, Secret purpose and reason behind my energy and my activity on social media. Wow, I'm gonna be cheeky and say Chavan Prash, but that's not true. Okay, I don't know. I have too much time on my hand. No. Okay, so I think what it comes very naturally. I am very expressive, and very early on I realized that social media does have the power to kind of get into your lives. Like, you can't, if you expected everybody to come together in a room, right? So we are not, we are limitless when it comes to reaching out to people, and why not? I mean, so that's why I very strategically use some of my handles, like my Facebook and my Twitter, that is all about my professional activities. But my professional and personal life, I feel like I have no boundaries anymore. It's all merged up completely. And it's not a strategy. Like, I don't have a social media strategy that I will do these many posts in a week, and this week I'll write about this. I just get annoyed and frustrated with what's happening around, and I probably see a news, and I probably hear something happened with somebody, or with day to day what we hear is happening in the lives of nurses, midwives, in maternal health with women, and I just present my opinion. It's just a place where I can put my opinion, and people can read it if they want to. People can bin it if they don't want to. And so far, it's not all good. I do get some negative criticism as well for the opinions, but then it's my platform. These are my handles. I don't have to care about what you know people think, what I'm putting up there. So, and a lot of people, I think what encourages me more is it's not just people who respond on that, but many people who feel it's very brave and they will not be able to say that themselves. They sometimes text me back, and they give me those hidden like secret messages that it was very brave to have said that upfront and publicly. And that gives you a lot of motivation, that even people who don't show that support up front, that they are listening, but maybe things will change their mind. And also, the the reach of different social media platforms is different. Like most of the people in India, my friends, my colleagues, my batchmates, and all the contacts in India that I have are mostly on Facebook. So I reach out to them through that better. But most of the people in other parts of the world are on Twitter. So the messaging kind of changes as well. And it's really a way to interact with different kind of people in different ways, and also shows who has more time to read like a huge 3 paragraph post on Facebook or just like 180 characters on Twitter. So I just like try to make noise in every way I can. And I don't know, there's no other secret to energy. I'm just really motivated to make these certain changes that I'm very confident about, that I know that the larger community wants. And if I have a voice, I don't see a point of why not use it. So yeah, it's just natural. I don't know. There's no secret.
Capacity building is one of the biggest priorities for the government in the healthcare sector. What are your insights on capacity building for midwifery?
If there has to be one message, then it really is that we need direct entry midwifery in India, and we don't have that right now. It's between 3 to 4. I think some places it's a 5 years course as well. But when it does get implemented, it will basically mean that, now how we are registered as RN and RM, that won't happen anymore. Like when I entered nursing, I didn't know what midwifery is, and I didn't know like I'm going to go out with another registration. So it's like I considered midwifery a part of, many subjects in nursing. But then because it's a different profession, because it's a different pathway, you do get an RM as well. So what it will mean is that, if you want to be a midwife, you don't have to go through the nursing pathway. You just can choose to be a midwife. And that will also mean, I think, for nurses that, they don't have to take up that extra time. They can probably finish their graduation in nursing or their diploma in lesser amount of time, and they can just focus on nursing. But I think it's this dilution of these two roles kind of hampers both professions in a way. So it's really really important that the first step be the separation of midwifery from um, nursing. And I recently was attending this particular I think symposium by NIHFW, and a participant there had said that, he used this analogy of a divorce, and he said, divorces are hard, but some divorces are really important for the betterment of both partners, and this is one of those essential divorces that needs to happen between nursing and midwifery. They needs to be separated, and I completely agree with that. That if you want to improve maternal health care in India, you want to improve the outcomes and get better indicators, it is really high time that we start implementing direct entry midwifery in the country. And I hope that is the next step.
You have provided consultation for several prestigious organizations, including Oxford, the WHO, and many others. Do share with us a proud moment for you amidst all these assignments.
A proud moment. Uh, um, I think I think out of all the things I have done in my career, the most cherished experience is working at the WHO headquarters. And it's just, I think it just was nothing that I could have ever dreamt of. Like when we become nurses, when we choose the pre-service education, at least I wasn't dreaming to go to the topmost of offices that are there and play a role there. So that was quite like bizarre and like straight out of dreams, and the dreams that you don't really have. So it was unbelievable to be in Geneva and This was an internship, actually. I should have given that intro. I presented at this conference. It's called the Normal Labor and Birth Research Conference. It happened in the UK in 2017, and it's a yearly thing, and I still go to all of them. But that was the first time I went, and it was in the UK. I was still back in India working, hadn't started my PhD, and one person of the participants, of the presenters, was going to like win an internship at the WHO headquarters with the technical advisor of midwifery, um, uh, Frances McConville, her name is, and the chief nursing officer at the WHO headquarters, Elizabeth Iro. And I won it. It was strange, but I could then go to WHO headquarters, do an internship on midwifery and nursing leadership. So it took me some time, because I think a big reason why people from lower middle income countries do not like get these opportunities and take advantage of it is because it's expensive, it's unaffordable. And even though I had that opportunity, I didn't have the means to go to Geneva, stay there for months and manage all my things, because it's an unpaid internship, end of it. So I took some time. I started my PhD in between, and I started an online campaign to be. It was like a crowdfunding to collect money so I can do the internship. And I raised quite a bit of money that will sustain my couple of months worth internship and get me through it. And people and midwives around the world kind of, were very generous with the money. And I got some really hefty donations in that, which kind of helped me do that. But I understand, it when it comes to, say, students in a higher income country in global north, I don't think they'll have to go through such big a step and to plan for a year to be able to do this. So that was quite unachievable and quite amazing. But then that also got me the opportunity to speak at the World Health Assembly, and it was amazing to sit among the health ministers of different countries on the same platform. And I also had the DG, the Director General of WHO, Dr. Tedros, in one of those sessions, who was sitting right next to me. And it was like nerve wracking, like my heart beating out of my chest. But thankfully, whenever I am on platforms like this, when I start speaking, I forget everything, no matter who's sitting next to me. But but that was unbelievable, and I'm quite proud to have not toned down and to have spoken my mind regardless of who was around. And I think that made a lot of difference, to speak in front of such dignitaries and my voice heard at that level. So yeah, that is WHO headquarters is the proudest moment, I would say.
Your PhD topic is immensely interesting, and I believe you are the sole individual focusing on the aspect of being respectful as integral for superior maternal health care. What personal observation or incident motivated you to choose this hitherto neglected topic in the healthcare fraternity?
I'm glad you asked me that. The story or the incident that I'm going to narrate is a little sensitive. So for the people who are watching this, if you want to step aside for like 2 minutes, that's absolutely fine. Because yeah, it can get a little overwhelming. So basically, I did my nursing and midwifery education, like the pre-service education in West Bengal, and it's a very prestigious organization, institution. It's a government body, and so we practiced all our specialities in mainly government, units. And I used to go practice at a tertiary level hospital when it came to assisting childbirth. And I remember watching many women go through many different kinds of atrocities and violence. And there used to be times when they will be hit, they will be called bad things, there will be judgmental comments, there will be comments about their sex lives. And it really, the kind of language that you don't use as a professional. this being used by doctors, by nurses, midwives, by cleaning people, by everyone around them. And what was surprising was nobody said anything. Like these women, they're lying in like 5 different labor tables by each other. There is absolutely no privacy. There's nobody who's, taking care. And sometimes it's just one person sitting, at a table, and everybody's like saris lifted up so that they can see from their desk that, who's crowning and who needs more attention. Now, I understand the workload and all those challenges aside, but nothing justifies dehumanizing women, especially when they're giving birth. And I remember a particular incident. Like I used to watch this and I used to wonder, why is nobody saying anything? So as a student, I anyways was like at the bottom of a medical hierarchy. If you can look at the entire range from a nursing and midwifery student to say the head of the department of gynecology and obstetrics. So being so at the bottom, I had little power to make any changes. But this particular incident where this woman was my patient, I was still a student, and she had to go through a vaginal examination. And I took her to this area where there were curtains. Like there was this examination table as well, and the doctor will come. And I was waiting at her bedside, and the doctor comes. He doesn't say anything. He just lifts her petticoat, like, with his elbow, and no information, nothing, no consent. And most of the times they at least say that, I'm checking or dekh raha hu or something, but nothing. He just lifted it, brushed aside, and right before he will do the examination, he steps back and he laughs, like this ugly laugh that still kind of goes on in my head, and he says, "How does your husband want to do anything with you, with the jungle you have grown there?" And I froze there. And there was this nursing staff also who kind of looked at me, and I wasn't saying anything. And I looked at the woman, and she kind of covered her face in the pallu, but she wasn't shocked. It kind of felt like it was expected. Like, if we have come for care in a big hospital like this much though will happen, right? And that was so shocking. And that still is a trauma for me, which even wasn't my direct trauma. But then the nursing staff, she saw my face and she was like, "Oh, the doctor is just joking, don't worry about it." And I kind of took it up. I took it up to my professors, I took it up to the superintendent there. And all that they could see, they're higher up on the hierarchy, right? I mean, much above me, so they could have done something, but even they are not that powerful. All they could tell me was, "Kaveri, remember, when you become a caregiver, when you go out of the college, remember, you should never do it. And you should stop people when you're seeing them in your ward or something." And it was just like, it's not good enough. And I think that is where I constantly draw my motivation from. This was like 13 years ago or so, and I was very young. But it gave me secondary tocophobia, which is fear of childbirth. It kind of feeds my PhD. It kind of feeds everything that I do on respectful maternity care, that I'm really, really passionate about. I just never want anybody to go through that or anything similar to it. And back then, people were not talking about it. Everybody comes, gives birth, gets abused, goes home like it's a part of care. And that's unfortunate and it's unacceptable. And now, in the last 10 years, there have been a lot of research in different parts of the world, so people can't really deny anymore that this is not a problem. So, yeah, so I think there is enough evidence to say that this is a problem. Where we are at is to find out why this is happening, what is also what I'm doing in my PhD. But the cultural context, the diversity, it all makes a difference in what that is. So that kind of changes. So that's why you need to do it in like every state, every country, because you can't find like one pill solution to respectful maternity care and humanized care everywhere in the world. And then you need to start finding ways to address it. So yeah, I mean, that is where it all started, and that is what keeps me going. And I think that is what is going to keep me motivated. rest of my life as well, because the problem still exists. It's just we hear about it now. Women are slowly opening up about it now.
Thank you very much, Kaveri, for your valuable insights and sharing the joyful moments.